afternoon, everyone. So I'm Sophia from BioStream. We are an AI-based injury detection device made mainly for the battlefield right now, but dual use. And I'm joined here today, as you know, by Joël on the left, Cédric from Sanofi, and Antoine from BioLevate. And I'd like to start with Joël because we've met a number of times over the past 15 years of his career, and every single time I was just so impressed with whatever he was building. So I'd love for you to start by introducing yourself.
Hello, thank you very much, Sophia. I'm Joël Bialafa. I've been doing tech since I'm 12, something like that. Still have friends. Most of them are my friends. Are you my friends? Yeah. I took over this mission with a group of very courageous people to change the game in many critical aspects of like the go-to-market for what treats us, and it gathers a lot of complicated problem that we're trying to solve. That was long.
Great. I guess over to you.
Yes, over to me then. Antoine de Torcy, also from the tech side, also a friend of Joël. Are you my friend? And so we co-founded actually BioLevate, part of two other co-founders, and in charge of AI here at BioLevate.
Cédric, I think you have less of a startup-y profile, but please go ahead.
Yeah. So Cédric Mahé from Sanofi Vaccine. I'm just a tech user, not a tech expert. But I've been working for Sanofi for 15 years, and before I was working in the public sector, notably in WHO and global organizations. And my main area of expertise is epidemiology and public health, and how to build public and private collaborations. And I think that AI is an excellent enabler to basically have this type of partnership.
I guess, Cédric, building on that, what are the main challenges you see in the public health space, specifically epidemiology?
Yes. As you have seen also from the COVID experience, I think that there is still some key weakness in terms of epidemiological surveillance and public health. First, the issue of timeliness of the data. Most of the surveillance systems are based on very rigorous data pipeline, accurate data, one source of data for each indicators. And in the end, usually you get the information after it is published on the news. So clearly, I think that we need to also change the way we handle things. So we need to move from traditional and academic epidemiology to signal detections to basically be real time. Second thing is that we tend to use a single source of data to address single questions. While with the digital revolutions, there is a lot of data which are available. And each data piece is bringing new insight on a part of the equation. Just to give you an example, we have done a pilot in Germany. If you are, for example, access a GP software, you can access data in 48 hours, and you can basically capture the data on 400,000 patients every week in real time. So this is quite important in terms of surveillance, but this is untapped potential and never used. So all those type of data, social media, wastewater testing, GP practice, private labs, all those things are coming together to get insight and overall picture of what we need. And finally, as you know, viruses are evolving. We have seen it with COVID, with the different variants, but for flu, it's a typical example. We need to reformulate the vaccine twice a year, because the virus is evolving so quickly that to be able to cope with the virus and as an effective vaccine, we need to change the antigen of the vaccines. But the method to determine what is the best antigen to put in the vaccine has not changed a lot for the last 50 years. We are not using historical data, we are not using AI. And I think there is a huge untapped potential also.
Thank you. And Joël, is that where you see AI playing a role? Like, where do you see AI having the biggest impact? Do you think LLMs, do you think frontier AI have a role to play?
Absolutely. We can talk a lot about AI. What is AI? Which type of model we are talking about? Traditional machine learning, data from sensors, data from social media, data from research, publication, all these channels that process information that are necessary to have this question of what is the type of disease that we need to fight against in the next 6 months. And where I see a lot of potential is that beyond all the type of artificial intelligence that you may see there's something in common. This is a converging technology. What I mean by that is that you might have seen transformers or LLMs dealing with text or dealing with image recognition since AlexNet, for instance. And then you'll start seeing text to image, voice to text. And then if you combine all these type of agents, you start to have multiple specialized entity processing different type of data stored on the cloud or from your device, or have in-device inference, things like TensorRT and every type of technology that we will develop on the hardware. And also there's a revolution on sensors, and Sophia is well aware of it because they have extraordinary technology on that regard. And these converging technologies is going to give a chance to solve a very hard problem coming from different channels with high impact, critical impact. That's where I see the potential of AI in this space.
And I guess for Antoine, is that something for today or for tomorrow? Do you think state-of-the-art AI foundational models are ready for this now?
So I'd say the current state of AI is both very impressive and still feels very limited. If you think about it, like last week was the 3rd birthday of ChatGPT, and had a very weird moment. Probably you had the same, like it's been only 3 years. Like it feels like we've been living with LLM for a decade now because the pace of innovation has been so fast. Just last month, we have major release by Google, Anthropic, Mistral, DeepSeek, like a lot of innovation. So I would say the current state of AI right now is that you can tackle any complex problem with an LLM if, and that's a big condition, if you manage to break it down into smaller tasks that the LLM can solve. And that's because of 2 main issues that the LLM have. They have one issue because they cannot really tackle long memory. Like they cannot handle too much data. That's the first big problem. You cannot throw huge document, big databases into the model. And the second issue is that they tend to cannot really handle long chain of thoughts. If it thinks for too much, the model starts to drift and it loses its initial assignments. And this is what we're actually trying to solve at Bioelevate, being able to solve very complex issues with these kind of models. And we have a lot of innovation on this, especially to be able to tackle these kind of complex challenges. A lot of, I can cite 3 of those. The first one is about parsing document. We have worked very hard on the way we can actually understand the data, understand the document themselves, understand the semantics of what is the knowledge, where the knowledge lives, and how it's structured. The second innovation that we had to bring to make sure that we can select the right data, because the model cannot handle too much data, is actually something I'm very proud because it's released this month. It's our new, it's a next generation of vector store. Why did we have to generate this kind of new technologies? Is because we have a deep conviction that chunking document, which is the basis of any document retrieval right now, is fundamentally very, very limited because you lose the document structure, you lose the context of the knowledge, and actually you force any AI system to rely solely on search, on semantic search, which is a very limited way to actually retrieve information. So this is why we created a new knowledge store, a new kind of knowledge store that is targeted at around knowledge navigation. So it provides models with the capability to browse in section, to iterate on document taxonomy, to basically navigate in the knowledge the way a human expert would do. And that's a major innovation in the way we can improve and select the right amount of data that a model needs to have. And the third innovation that we had to bring is about orchestration. Because when you, as I said, when you have a complex question, you need to split it into smaller tasks. And we have this internally in our platform, the capability to tackle a complex question, complex workflow, and break it down into sub-workflows at scale, and making sure that agents are collaboratively creating a kind of mind map that will solve a complex problem that no model could do in one go. And that's what makes a difference between state-of-the-art foundational models that actually can do great things, but are very limited on their own, and having an actual infrastructure that makes it possible to have something that works at scale in highly regulated environments such as healthcare.
That seems to make a lot of sense, but Cédric, can you confirm, is that solving real problems? I want to know if that's something people really need.
Yes, in fact, I'm very glad to be able to work with BioLevate, because clearly this is also an opportunity for them to do another proof of concept of expertise on a different dimension, which is public health. And I can probably announce it also that we have been selected by the ID Biocluster, which is basically the health cluster in France, part of France 2030, which is a one-stop shop for infectious disease and pandemic preparedness. So BioLevate, Sanofi, Orange, Impact Healthcare have been identified to be part of a consortium to create a project called IOLOS, to basically do multi-data source integration to revolutionize respiratory disease surveillance in France. So basically all those multi-source data I was referring to will be basically collated into a dashboard. There will be some insight generated to basically predict epidemic, pandemic, and in addition there will be also some individual mobile applications to give you the meteo of the respiratory infection. So before you go in winter, go out of your house, you can see basically what is the risk of getting flu or getting COVID. So I think we want also to put individual at the center of the solution. And we are very glad to be involved in this project together with the French authorities.
Do we have a time frame on that?
We expect to start probably before mid-2026. It will be a 4-year project. So we plan to have, after 2 years, probably a regional pilot in France, and to have a full-scale industrial solution after 4 years.
It's a very exciting prospect, but I'd like to hear about the past as well, Joël and Antoine. Can you walk us through some projects, like some actual impact you've had, some like real change in the real world?
I'll start, but I guess to a certain extent, Antoine will take over. The principle behind the technology that we're going to implement through project IOLOS is very, very close and actually pretty much similar to something we use not only for just regulatory or clinical use case. We actually leveraged this technology to discover novel treatments. We've been selecting the type of rare and orphan disease that technically right now are not economically viable for a private institution, and decide to innovate enough to make a viable treatment and to find a viable treatment for critical disease. We can talk about this without too much detail, but it's on leukemia. It passes the first preclinical test, and yeah, we autonomously, with the help of some public sector researcher, already found treatments in oncology, dermatology, and other rare diseases. So maybe you want to talk about
and actually it relates to the question you asked earlier, which is what is the state of the art of AI right now? And we know for sure, but because we already felt patents based on discoveries that we made with AI, that AI is already ready to push the boundaries of scientific knowledge right now with some of the pipeline that we have done. But we have also more day-to-day use cases that are already in production, such as like document generation, document compliance, literature review. So a lot of different use cases that you can have around this.
And do you see any innovation coming up that could enable you to accelerate this? What are you waiting for to go even faster?
I don't like to talk about this too much, especially when we are in a very, very techy type of conference. But we have to be grounded. And reality is, for 10 innovation you put down, you create 10 problems. We are very bullish at scaling agents. I could be wrong, but the moment the ecosystems manage to scale drastically agents, and when we talk about scaling agents, we have users at Sanofi clicking for one straightforward action that took 1 year to be delivered, and you have 100,000 plus agents using multiple tools, synchronizing and doing the work within an hour. This is the type of use case we have in production already, and we scale that even more. And the more you specialize things, the more you grow. And then technically, you might have seen it in the ecosystem. Each technology has its challenge. You need a transactional system for each type of technological generation. So then you find some bottlenecks, and then you optimize, and then you find another bottlenecks, and you scale by 10, and you find another bottlenecks, and you solve it. That's pretty much what's going on. You want to say something about that?
I think we can mention one innovation that we already felt. We published a paper this year about prompt optimization because I think this is very basic, but this is very concrete because you can actually boost the accuracy of the model by up to 60%. You do not change the model, but just the way you prompt it can have a huge change, huge impact on the way it can solve problems. And we have this core technology that we've published, and it's going to be part of our core platform next year, to be able to make sure that you can leverage the best capability of your models by optimizing automatically your prompt. That's a very concrete example.
And I guess for those who knows and train models and LoRa, yeah, in scientific tests, it mostly beats LoRa, and you don't have to deal with, sensitive data in my LoRa that are leaking accidentally. Yeah, it competes and sometimes beats LoRa.
I guess, Cedric, if you had one thing that you want Biolevé to develop for you, like you have a magic wand and they make something happen for you, what problem would you like them to solve?
For me, it's a $5 billion problem. It's basically, how do we have better flu and COVID vaccines? As I was explaining, the antigen design based on what is circulating is basically suboptimal. And I think that I would like Biolevé to try to identify what will be the next strain circulating for flu, for example, to ensure that we get the most effective vaccines. And I think that there is a huge untapped potential because there is 50 years of data which are not used. There is methodology which are a bit old. And as you know, the public sector, the health authority usually are not always very agile, and they don't necessarily have the AI expertise. So I think that there is a perfect match by having this kind of health authority together with techies and also some pharma industry to work together on the solutions. And we agree with WHO in Geneva to organize a workshop before mid next year to discuss this issue of how can we leverage AI to select better strains for the vaccines.
I guess $5 billion is a really great magic wand, actually.
Well, in GPU it doesn't mean much, but yeah, we can manage something.
That sounds like a plan. I guess a question I have for you as well is, we're talking about COVID, about issues that are really broad in terms of populations, pretty much things that are interesting for everyone. How about the diseases and the things that are much rarer? And we hear a lot of complaints about some diseases that are left out because they're not interesting enough to be studied. Is AI going to help that, Joël?
Not only AI is going to help that. Well, AI does not do things by itself, and the long-term goal that is enforced into our personality through our emotions, AI doesn't have that. But there's a lot of people highly motivated into changing the games, and we've been talking for years now about precision medicine, personalizing any treatment. What if you have this unique disease that only your genome just make you suffer from? What happens to you? The moment you scale drastically, the methodology that have been polished for 200 years plus, that treats us even when we don't even understand detailed mechanics, the moment you manage to enforce that into agents and scale it drastically, well, then you have the potential to develop a treatment for everything that exists. And we've been working on a lot of orphan disease, not necessarily being in the focus of larger groups, because sometimes it's just impossible. But yeah, that's where we see the long-term potential, unleashing precision medicine at scale.
Cedric, in terms of compliance, regulations, all this boring stuff that takes years for products to get to market, how do you actually deal with an AI where sometimes it's kind of a black box, you don't really know what's happening, you just know there's an outcome and probably it works?
Yes, it's a real complication and it takes time. It takes time, but because we need to educate. I think that real-world evidence is not new, it exists for years, but regulatory authorities are still piloting some studies to see whether they can accept it or not. So AI is not for tomorrow. But basically, if we bring a solutions and if we bring transparency and traceability of what is being done, I think this is where the trust will be increased. So I think that the result is not the end game. The end game is also ensuring that there is this full transparency that can be reproduced, and that basically is not basically industry, which is basically coding with the figure behind.
Maybe we need an AI regulator.
Yeah, just to jump back on this, I think there are two very important words, which is transparency and reproducibility, and those two are very complex to do. And this is why we did this agentic workflow orchestration, because just to have this traceability of all the reasoning steps and all the sources that it leveraged, but also the reproducibility, and this is something that people tend to forget, but the capability to do it over and over the same way is very important.
And just to add on that, Sanofi has established a responsible AI policy, which is called RAISED, that is very important for our company, where those characteristics are key. Since we are heavily regulated, and it's very important for us to ensure that all the things we done are traceable. And I think that this is the first principle.
I guess it's almost time to wrap up. Joël, maybe a piece of advice, because, I mean, you and I, we both came from different industries and we transitioned into something new, right? I went into defense from gaming. Now you're in health. You're not a doctor by you know. What advice would you give to people out there who want to build things with AI that have an impact in the real world and that feel that maybe they're not good enough, maybe they don't have the right degree, maybe they're not OpenAI and they can't do it?
I see a lot of potential here. I'll say something here. Humans are really bad at realizing what they're unique, what they're good at. We are not special because we're human. We are special because we have this unique, I would even say, time and space position and personal experience that could, for a certain type of problem, help us solve it better than anything that exists. There's artificial intelligence, but there's also human intelligence that is going to leverage all this. And you can see that many frontier labs, and for instance, Anthropic, they've been hiring a lot of people from other things than like AI research, because it's about formulating problems. It's about formulating the constraints in order to solve problems. If you are frustrated about something, then you can do AI and do it, the thing that you want to achieve perfectly. This willingness that just leads you through your journey in life is just going to help you build something that is AI-driven and that might change the game in an industry. And I think we can already see promises of that in many places, and there's a lot of potential for the global population there.
Thank you. Do you have any very last, maybe announcement, just some secrets you can just uncover for us right now, just before we go?
Well, I could give you that secret. I have one actually, but then I'll have to do something about this room, and no, I don't want to do that in my life. But yeah.
Please don't. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being with us as well. And follow BioLevate. I'm sure these guys are going to go far.
Thank you.